Today I am going to tell you about the second of Durga, Brahmacharini. People thank Shailaputri for all the food she provides. But did you know that she herself had gone without eating much for 5,000 years? During this time, she was in deep meditation and she was called Brahmacharini. Her name means an unmarried lady who meditates and seeks knowledge. On the second day of Navaratri, people pray to this form of the Navadurga. To know why the goddess sat in meditation for thousands of years and didn't eat even though he was hungry, let's go back to Shailaputri's story. After a long, winding journey through the mountains, perched on Nandi, Shailaputri reached Mount Kailash. There, as Narada has said, she found Shiva sitting on a mound in deep meditation. At first, she was a little afraid to go near him. He looked strange. He had smeared ash on his body. He wore only tiger skin and he had tied his hair in a shabby half bun. A bird cooed loudly, flying over his head. Insects were crawling over his arms and legs, but Shiva sat still. Seeing this, Parvati was impressed. The more she looked at him, the more she felt drawn to the power of his meditation. He looked so calm. So, without disturbing him, she found a good spot far away and immediately sat down to meditate. In the beginning, it was difficult. She would scratch here and there or stretch her legs to rest. She would doze off in between and her hunger tasted her sorely. Her stomach, which seemed to have a mind of its own, growled every now and then. But Parvati continued to follow Narada's advice. Slowly, days turned into nights and nights into days. Weeks passed, even months and years too. And like this, 1,000 years went by. Of course, Parvati was alive. She was a goddess after all. In her palace home in the Himalayas, her parents ensured that Parvati was served a variety of royal foods. But there, on the cold Mount Kailash, in the first few years, she ate only roots and fruits. For the next 100 years, she lived on leafy vegetables and shoots. All the gods were watching her from their look. This is sad. Shiva has not even opened his eyes to see Parvati, let alone accept her as his wife in this life, sighed one of them. If this goes on much longer, we'll never be free from Tarakasura's rule, said another, shaking his head sadly. Parvati too realized that she had to meditate harder to get Shiva's attention. In the next 3,000 years, storm tortured her, rain slashed at her, and the sun burned her skin, turning it a dark brown. But the goddess, like Shiva, continued to meditate. This time, she gave up eating leafy vegetables and only nibbled on leaves from the bell tree. And in the last 1,000 years of her meditation, she didn't even eat leaves. Her stomach empty, her mind was focused only on Shiva. At last, one day, Shiva opened his eyes. Parvati had caught his attention through her deep meditation. Shiva knew how devoted she was, but he decided to give her one final taste to see how much she loved him in this life. Disguised as a sage, Shiva approached her. Brahmacharini, you have wasted 5,000 years of your life for that, Shiva. But he doesn't care about you at all, he said. He does, Parvati said, slowly opening his eyes. Just as he is in my thoughts always, I am in his forever. But tell me, why would you want to marry a god who has no grand home, no family or riches? You won't be happy with him. Your life would be full of glitches. The sage tried again. If I had wanted a big house, fine clothes, and good food, I wouldn't have left my father's palace. Parvati answered. Shiva and I don't need riches. We are each other's happiness. The sage smiled and appeared in his true form as Shiva. Seeing Shiva himself in front of her, Parvati smiled, relieved. You have suffered a lot because of me. Parvati, will you still be my wife? He asked her. What do you think? Parvati said. Bare leaves on which Brahmacharini survived for 3,000 years, along with cloves, fruits, and sugar, offered to the goddess as prasad or sacred food offering. On the second day of Navaratri, her idol or image is decorated with hibiscus and lots of lotus garlands. Devotees pray to Brahmacharini for courage and confidence to deal with problems and also seek her help to be able to keep up their Navaratri. Some of them fast for all 9 days, eating nothing at all. Other eats only some kinds of food, giving up non-vegetarian food or items like onion and garlic.